I was always from day one really into animals. My other two brothers were not. Dr. Cellini, Michael, was definitely not into animals. I thought that was really strange, and I think that says a lot about him as a person. All right, it's Saturday. I just finished work. I just finished a really long surgery. And I need to shoot a video for you guys. So here we go. So where to begin? Well, I thought maybe this time I would change it up a little bit and just talk to you guys, just literally just present information to you about where I started and kind of my path going up from the beginnings all the way to vet school. I don't know, this video might be boring, I don't know, but I'm just going to try to give you the best information I can for anybody who's either interested or maybe wants to go to veterinary school as well. Like most kids who go to vet school, I really liked animals. Growing up, I was always interested in kind of observing them, seeing how they behaved around each other, seeing if I could get them to be my friend, sort of a thing. And so 15-year-old Dr. Cellini is just starting high school, and one day I find my cat paralyzed. I had a cat named Tigger, and I found him dragging his back legs in our garage, vocalizing in a lot of pain. It was really distressing. So come to find out, Tigger had a condition called a saddle thrombus, or an aortic thromboembolism. And Tigger we had to euthanize because we couldn't afford to treat that, and it's a grave prognosis anyway. I didn't know he had a saddle thrombus at the time, so everybody told me that, like, he broke his back, he must have injured himself falling, stuff like that. But to me, that didn't really make a whole lot of sense, because he was just in the garage and was just normal one afternoon, and then that night he was paralyzed. So I was like, how could he just break his back? So that didn't really sit well with me, so I got a real strong desire to want to figure out what happened to Tigger, and that basically led to trying to learn animal science. My first job was a kennel worker, and I walked the dogs, and I cleaned up kennels, cleaned up poop and pee, and did laundry, stuff like that, between the ages of 15 and 18, so all through high school pretty much. I worked at the local general practice in my hometown of Kennesaw, Georgia. His name was Dr. Best, and he was a great guy. He showed me a lot of behind the scenes stuff, let me do a whole lot of stuff even though I was just a kennel worker at the time. But that really got me started down the path of trying to see how a vet clinic operated. In 2001, I start at Georgia Tech, and I am basically doing a full caseload, a really challenging major. At Georgia Tech, they make you do a lot of non-related courses. Like I had to take like deep calculus and physics and computer science, even though I was just majoring in biology. So I had to go to like Calc 3 and like Physics 3 and stuff like that, and it was just brutal. Absolutely brutal. And all my friends who were like chemical engineers and way smarter than me, I was like, I don't know what you guys are even doing. Like, I don't understand any of this. Somehow I made it out of there with an above 3.0 GPA. I think it was like a 3.3 or 3.4. And I got accepted in veterinary school. So I attended the Georgia Institute of Technology for college, and I I applied and I enrolled in the University of Georgia College of Vet Med in 2005. So I started there in August 2005. It felt like I was pretty prepared for undergrad. Like I could just kind of muscle through some of the harder classes and just make it work. I thought college was really hard, but vet school was a whole nother ballgame. I don't think I was really ready for vet school, either on an intelligence or an emotional level. I joke with people nowadays that I think maybe my frontal lobe needed an extra 5 years to mature. So I just really was not a mature human being at all. I acted like a boy in most aspects. I mean, I was only 22 when it started, so that's pretty young. But I just wasn't ready. But nonetheless, I got through vet school, and 4 years absolutely flew by in veterinary school. Totally just, it felt like from one day to the next. All of a sudden 4 years had gone by, and I was like, whoa. So in vet school, I started getting interested in neurology towards pretty much the last year. I didn't know what I wanted to do, for the first 3 years, really. I kind of just took a bunch of different courses. Like I was taking like horse classes and like learning how to do swine repro, stuff like that. I don't know why I did that, but I was taking all sorts of random classes just trying to figure out, I took a fish medicine course at one point. But I was just taking all sorts of random stuff just to see what I liked. And it wasn't until I did clinical neurology my 4th year that I really started to see like, okay, like this is something that really interests me. This is really fascinating. The reason I like neurology so much, there's a couple reasons. One is we would see dogs with like vertigo and seizures and all these horrible, neurologic dysfunctions, paralysis, pain, all this stuff. And what I was noticing is that when the doctors, the house officers and the chiefs, when they got done with an exam, they could tell an owner a lot more based on their exam than the other services could. And what I mean by that is you could look at a dog and do a neurological assessment, and you could tell where in the nervous system there is a problem that is causing this dog's problem. And I didn't see, in internal medicine, a dog would come in for vomiting, and you would list off 50 different differentials. I mean, literally anything can make a dog vomit. But there's only so many things that can make a dog paralyzed in their pelvic limbs, but spare their thoracic limbs. So I really liked how, yes, it's complicated because it's neuroanatomy and it's physiology, and all. Neurology is difficult, neuroanatomy especially. But I really liked how the clinical aspect was, it's only a few different things that it could be. You have to figure out where it is, and then you use the same diagnostic test every time, pretty much, which is an MRI, to try to find what the problem is and go from there. So it was a very streamlined sort of process. The other thing I liked about it was that unique to neurology, at least in veterinary medicine, I know human medicine this is different, but in veterinary medicine, you do clinical neurology, you do medical neurology, you do surgery, neurosurgery, and you do diagnostic imaging with like MRI. So you do this combination of imaging, surgery, and medicine that is unlike any other specialty. I know that's different in human neurology and neurosurgery. It's divvied up because the human brain and the human spine is quite, frankly, way, way, way more complicated than a dog's is. But nonetheless, we can do all of these things in veterinary medicine. And I really like that. The problem was I didn't have very good grades in vet school. So nobody was really going to take me as an intern or a resident because I just didn't really know. I was kind of lost the whole time while being immature. So I just didn't really have any sort of great opportunity to go somewhere like, my friends were going to Cornell and getting internships, and I was like, I don't even know how to get there. So I kind of had to start over. And I don't know if anybody watching this has been in that boat where by the end of medical school or vet school, or maybe you're in the middle of it right now and you feel just kind of lost and you're just not doing as well as you thought you should. Hang in there and just know that you can always turn it around. Like there's no end point to this. You can always turn it around, and I'll tell you how I did it here in a second. So I finished vet school, and I don't get accepted to any internship. And so what I do is we do something called the scramble, where people that don't match to an internship have to start calling programs, and everybody's just this crazy 1 day to 3 day process where people are just calling each other and hey, do you know anybody down at this practice? Will they take you? Yes, yes, yes. So through, of all people, the dermatology resident, which I don't know, you never know when you're going to meet somebody who's the person that connects you. But the dermatology resident at Georgia knew a practice that she thought I would fit in well at. And she actually told me, she was like, you actually did pretty good on dermatology, and I can see that you're a smart guy. So I'm going to vouch for you. And I was like, okay. So I ended up I ended up getting accepted for an internship position in Florida at a practice called Veterinary Specialists of South Florida. I started there in July 2009. And I thought vet school was hard. I thought undergrad was hard, but internship was way harder. We call it rotating internship the first year. So in vet school, the first year after you graduate is called a rotating internship. You can go into practice if you want to, like general practice or ER or what have you, but if you're going to do like formal training, you do a rotating internship. And that's where you rotate between different services, anywhere between 1 to 3 weeks at a time. You rotate between different services. You do a lot of ER, you do a lot of overnight, and you basically learn how to be a doctor. You're thrown to the wolves a little bit, but there's a safety net of people who are your mentors, or at least they're supposed to be, of people who are your mentors, and they are there to help you along the way. So I was in Florida. I basically had to prove myself to them, and I also had to prove it to me that I could actually do this, and I was a little bit better than myself on paper gave me credit for. So I worked very hard this year. I put in probably about 100-hour work weeks on average. I truly think it was about 100 hours a week for the whole year. They paid us $28,000 for the year. And so if you human residents out there, if you think you have it bad, try making $28K a year and working 100 hours a week. It's not like radiology. So I ended up, towards the end of that year, I applied for a specialty internship. So in veterinary medicine, it's becoming more commonplace, at least it was back then. I think it is now. This is 2010. So it's becoming much more commonplace to have to do a second internship before you do a residency, just because residencies are so competitive. So I did a specialty internship in neurology and neurosurgery in Houston. I actually matched to this program, and it was at Gulf Coast Veterinary Specialists in Houston, Texas, and I was under the mentorship of Dr. Randy Longshore and Dr. Carly Giovanella. And they are awesome. If you have a dog with a neuro problem and you're in that area of the country, I would not recommend anybody else besides them. They are super smart. They worked me very hard, very hard. I think that year was harder than the year before it. But despite all the challenges of that year, I learned a tremendous amount. And by the end of that, I really felt like I could do a neurology residency. I really, truly felt that way. The problem was I didn't match to a residency. Again, they were still looking at GPA at that point in my career. I figured out that I was just going to have to, get a regular job and then see what opportunity could come up in the future. And I knew that I put myself in the best opportunity I could by doing a specialty internship and a rotating internship to kind of set me apart that way, so that if I had an opportunity in the future, I could go back to this and be a better candidate because I've had those extra years of experience. So instead of a residency, I ended up taking the job as an ER doctor in Albuquerque, of all places. My girlfriend at the time lived there, so I was like, well, I might as well move out there and start working. So I took a job in Albuquerque, and I worked there for 2 years, and it was good. I got a little bit sick and kind of tired of the ER sort of lifestyle. I wasn't down with staying up super late every single shift and the craziness that happens. And then I also felt like I needed to actually fix these problems that I was seeing. I was seeing dogs come through the door where I would triage them and try to keep them alive and get them to the specialist. But I was always jealous of the specialist because they would actually get to fix the problem. And they would actually get to tell the owner, yeah, I know what's going on. Here's our fix. Let's get it figured out. And I was kind of a conduit to that. And I kind of felt like I wanted to be on the final stage of this. That's where I kind of started noticing, like, yeah, I kind of want that. So lo and behold, after about 2 years, so I started working ER in 2011. In 2013, my old teacher at Georgia, a clinical professor at Georgia, had moved to New Mexico, and he was looking to start a neurology practice and contacted me and said, hey, do you want to be a resident? Would you let me, like, train you for my practice, because we need a resident to help with, kind of building the practice too. And this was, quite frankly, the opportunity of a lifetime. And I was very lucky to get that, very lucky to be in the right place at the right time, but I was also prepared. I also, like I said, I also did those extra internships, and I was prepared to get this sort of an opportunity. So I spent 3 years there from 2013 to 2016 in New Mexico doing a neurology and neurosurgery residency. And that was very difficult, very hard. Again, every phase of this just gets harder. So you should just get used to that right off the bat. Like, every single phase of this process just gets harder and harder, no matter what you do. But by the end of it, I took my board exam. That was also extremely hard. Notice a trend here. I managed to pass it the first time. And in 2017, I was boarded. I got my board certification in veterinary neurology and neurosurgery, and I've been a neurologist ever since. And I got to tell you, it was a very long road. I look back all the time and I think, man, when I was literally cleaning poop and pee out of a kennel, and I had to beg them to let me work there. Like, I was literally a kennel staff worker. And here I am doing MRIs and spinal surgeries and brain surgeries on dogs 15 years later. Totally crazy. But that's kind of my whole path. I went from kennel worker in 1999 is when I started, and in 2016 I'm a neurologist. So that's a 17-year trek from high school to where I am now, and I'm super glad I did it. I'm very glad I did it. There was a moment where I thought maybe I wasn't going to do a residency. Even when I got offered the residency, I was kind of like, should I do this? But I'm really glad I did. It really changed my life. It's allowed me to more quickly pay off my student loans, which were monumental, as everybody knows, coming out of school. It's allowed me to have a better life, and a better life for me and my family. And I am so grateful for the opportunity that was afforded to me, and I will never, never, ever take this for granted, both the hard work and the opportunities that I got. So I'd like to also use this video as a thank you to everybody that helped me along the way. There was a lot of people that saw something in me. They were willing to reach out and to help me along the way and to give me a chance to kind of, prove my worth. And I can't really name everybody right now. The list is too long, but anybody who's watching this who knows me and played a role in me getting to where I am today, thank you, thank you, thank you so much. I cannot thank you enough, truly. Like, I am truly grateful for everything you did for me. So that's it. That's my story from start to finish. Hope you enjoyed this video. Please feel free to hit the like and subscribe button. Leave a comment. Maybe let me know where you are in this process. If I can help in any way, if you're a veterinarian or a vet student or an aspiring vet student, feel free to let me know, and I'm happy to try to help in any way. I love talking to people who are in the middle of this process like I was. I can definitely relate to it. So, and not everybody can. So, hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll see you next time.